Hey everyone, so for today's video, we're going to talk about Lesson 12, the first call for children. It is the Convention on the Rights of the Child adopted by the General Assembly of the Nations on November 20, 1989. Article 1 states that for the purposes of the present convention, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years and less. Under the law is applicable to the child majority is attained earlier. Article 2 states that parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that the child is protected against all forms of discrimination or punishment on the basis of the status, activities, expressed opinions, or beliefs of the child's parents, legal guardians, or family members. Article 3. In all actions concerning children, whether undertaken by public or private social welfare institutions, courts of laws, administrative authorities, or legislative bodies, the best interests of the child shall be primarily consideration. Article 4 states that parties shall undertake all appropriate legislative, administrative, and other measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the present convention. With regard to the economic, social, and cultural rights, states, parties shall undertake such measures to maximum extent of their available resources and where needed within the framework of international cooperation. Article 5 states that parties shall respect the responsibilities, rights, and duties of parents, or where applicable, the members of the extended family or community as provided for by the local custom, legal guardians, or other persons legally responsible for the child, to provide in a manner consistent with the evolving capacities of the child, appropriate direction and guidance in the exercise by the rights recognized in the present convention. Article 6 states that parties recognize that every child has the inherent right to life. Article 7 the child shall be registered immediately after the birth and shall have the right from the birth to a name, the right to acquire a nationality, and as far as possible, the right to know and be cared for his own or his parents. Article 8 states parties undertake to respect the right of the child to preserve his or her identity, including nationality, name, and family relations, as recognized by law without unlawful interference. Article 9 states parties shall respect the right of the child who is separated from one or both parents to maintain social relations and direct contact with both parents on regular basis, except if it is contrary to the child's best interest. Article 10 states that shall further ensure that the submission of such interests shall entail no adverse consequences for the applicants and for the members of their family. Article 11 states parties shall take measures to combat the illicit transfer and non-return of children abroad. Article 12 states parties shall assure to the child who is capable of forming his or her views the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting the child. The views of the child's being given are weighed in the accordance of the age and the maturity of the child. Article 13. The exercise of this right may be subject to certain restrictions, but these shall only be such as proven by the law and necessary. A. For respect of the rights of the reputations of others, or B. For the protection, security, or of public order, or of public health of morals. Article 14 states that parties shall respect the rights of the child to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Article 15 states that parties recognize the rights of the child to freedom of association, and to freedom of peaceful assembly. Article 16. The child has the right to the protection of the law against such in the interference of attacks. Article 17 states that parties recognize important function performed by the mass media and shall ensure that the child has access to information and material from a diversity of national and international sources, especially those aimed at the promotion of his or her social, spiritual, and moral well-being, physical and mental health. To this end, states parties shall A. Encourage inter-nation cooperation in the production, exchange of dissemination of such information, material from a diversity of cultural, national, and international success. B. Encourage the production and dissemination of the children's book. Article 18 states parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that the children of working parents have the right to benefit from child care services and facilities for which are eligible. Article 19 states parties shall take all appropriate legislative, administrative, social, and educational measures to protect the child forms of physical or mental violence, injury or abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, maltreatment, or exploitation, including sexual abuse, while in the care of parents, legal guardians, or any other person who has the care of the child. Article 20 states that parties shall, in accordance with the national laws, ensure alternative care for such child. Article 21 states parties that recognize and or permit the system of adoption shall ensure the best interests of the child shall to be paramount consideration, and they shall A. Ensure that the child concerned by inter-country adoption enjoys safeguards and standards equivalent to those existing in the case of national adoption. And B. Take all appropriate measures to ensure that in inter-country adoption, the placement does not result in improper financial gain for those involved in it.